Welcome back to Fluttering Butterflies. My name is Michelle, and for today's video I thought that I would do slightly mini reviews of 3 different books that I read this year. During the year I had made plans to read LGBTYA throughout the year, some during the month of February for Love Month and some during Pride Week. And I kept meaning to film this video that I just happened to read 3 in a row around that time, and I didn't get around to it, so I thought, it doesn't matter. I love supporting LGBTYA whatever the time of year, so here we are. I'm going to do non-spoiler mini reviews of 3 books. Those books are Highly Illogical Behaviour by John Corey Whaley, If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo, and Been Here All Along by Sandy Hall. So here we go. The first book that I read is Been Here All Along by Sandy Hall. I didn't know a great deal about the book before I started. Sandy Hall has written other books, and I think one of the things that I had heard about that book that stuck in my mind is the different points of view. And that's the thing that really sticks in my head after I've read Been Here All Along. So the story revolves around 2 friends, and at the start of the book, one of these friends, both male friends, one of these friends is wanting to tell his girlfriend that he's bisexual. The other friend realizes that actually he's gay and he is in love with his best friend. So that's the main storyline of the book, and I think I really enjoyed their perspectives quite a lot, but I found it a little bit strange because we also have the perspectives of the one friend's girlfriend, and we also have the point of view of the one friend who realizes he's gay, his older brother. And I felt like because there is such a distance using the different points of view, I felt like if it was just the 2 main characters going through what they're going through, I probably would have been a little bit more emotionally connected to the story. But because we have this distance, anytime something emotional happens, it kind of flips to a different character. Throughout the book, I was thinking, I don't really know why I needed the girlfriend's point of view. I didn't really understand the point of view of the older brother either. I did really enjoy the fact that there was a bisexual male character in this storyline. I also really liked some of the questions that are brought up. So the one boy at the beginning who tells his girlfriend that he's bisexual has to then defend himself to his girlfriend, who asks, you know, why didn't you tell me before now, sort of thing. And it kind of delves a little bit into, do we owe anything else? Do we owe something to anyone else about owning up to our sexuality? And it's really good within the text to say, actually, no, nobody really needs to know our sexuality before we're ready to tell it to people. And I think that was a really great message to have. So for that, I mean, just for that reason alone, and some of the other questions that are posed meant that I really enjoyed Been Here All Along. I did think it was a very sweet story. It was quite quick to read. I just wanted just a little bit more to just go a little bit deeper within the characters' relationships. But apart from that, I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read was If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. This was on last year's Zoella's book club. I'd heard about it before because it's an Own Voices trans story. I'd had it on my Kindle for absolutely ages, and I don't know what it was about it that made me put off reading it, possibly the hype surrounding it. I'm not sure, but I did finally get around to reading it, and I thought it was a really wonderful story. It's about a girl who moves to live with her father. Her parents are divorced, and she starts up this new school. She gets involved in a new friendship circle. She meets a boy, and she starts to to wonder a little bit about again, in the same way that questions were brought up in Been Here All Along, questions are brought up in If I Was Your Girl about whether or not this character owes it to anyone else, about explaining their life history, explaining the choices that they've made, explaining that they are trans. And again, I thought it was a really interesting that this was brought up. And there's also some really great moments which were very emotional between the girl and her father, and how that relationship is a little bit strained as he's sort of dealing with his daughter's transition. You can see him that he wants to do and say the right things, but it can be a little bit hard for him to do that, which I thought was quite sweet to see. It's not always an easy read. She encounters some people who aren't so willing to understand, but I did really enjoy the entire experience of reading it. I feel like trans experiences are ones that I'm not as familiar with, so it's always nice to read and educate myself more about those experiences. And the final book that I wanted to talk a little bit about is Highly Illogical Behaviour by John Corey Whaley. I can't remember exactly why this book was on my radar, possibly because of the mental illness aspects of the book, and it's about a boy who has who suffers from OCD and agoraphobia. An incident in 9th grade, I believe, in a fountain, and since then he's gone home and he's not really come out. He is educated online, and it's also telling the story of a girl who wants to go on to university to study psychology. She decides that she wants to help cure this character with OCD and agoraphobia, and it's going to be entrance into her dream school, into studying her dream subject. And so she befriends this boy. She brings along her boyfriend for some of it, and the character with OCD realizes that he is gay. And yeah, so it was interesting. I did like the idea that this character is both gay as well as having mental illness. I do really enjoy the more intersectional stories like that. And I wanted to love it more than I did, but I just didn't. I felt like it didn't explore OCD or agoraphobia as much as I would like it to have done. The sexuality aspects of it were interesting, but again, I felt like I expected something different to happen in terms of that. I felt really uncomfortable with the girl's position throughout the story, so I didn't really warm to her and her reasons for befriending this other character. So for me, it was a much better idea of a story than it was an actual story. So I think I brought this up in one of my other videos in which I said, my Kindle tour of unread ebooks, I said, I have another book by John Corey Whaley that's been on my Kindle for 2 years unread. And having read this book by John Corey Whaley and not being hugely impressed, it was just okay. There was nothing hugely wrong with it. It just didn't connect to any of the main characters that well, and the aspects of the storyline which really grabbed at me, an exploration of sexuality and also OCD and agoraphobia, just didn't work for me. Those two elements I hoped would be the strongest in the book, and they both fell kind of flat for me. So it doesn't make me excited to read the other book by him. Those are the 3 books that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. If you have any books dealing with either mental illness or sexuality in YA, I'd love to hear them. I'm always on the lookout for those. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you again next time.